Tensions are high tonight across the globe. In newsrooms and living rooms alike, people are glued to their screens, anxiously awaiting the next development. A headline flashes: U.S. warship sails through Taiwan Strait, Beijing vows firm response. The world watches as the story unfolds in real time, the implications rippling far beyond the region. This isn't a political thriller, this is our world, September 12, 2025. The date marks a turning point, a moment when history seems to accelerate. The United States and China, two global giants, are locked in a rivalry that's reshaping the world. Their every action is scrutinized, their words dissected for hidden meaning. Every move, naval patrols, tech bans, tariffs, sends shockwaves through the international community. Markets react instantly, and governments scramble to respond. The world holds its breath, wondering if this is the start of a new era of confrontation. Ordinary people feel the tension in their daily lives, from travel restrictions to rising prices. This standoff didn't appear overnight, it's been building for decades. Old rivalries, trade disputes, and ideological differences have all contributed to this moment. The language from both Washington and Beijing is sharper than ever. Statements are carefully crafted, yet the underlying hostility is unmistakable. The era of cooperation is fading, replaced by competition and mistrust. Diplomatic channels are strained, and the hope for easy solutions is slipping away. This isn't just a clash between governments, it's a fundamental conflict of interests and ambitions. Corporations, activists, and ordinary citizens are all caught in the crossfire. The question is no longer if a confrontation will happen, but what form it will take. Will it be economic, technological, or something far more dangerous? In the UN, in boardrooms, on military bases, everyone is on edge. The sense of uncertainty is palpable, and leaders are forced to make difficult choices. The line between competition and conflict is dangerously blurred. Each side maneuvers carefully, knowing that one wrong move could spark a crisis. The potential for miscalculation is immense, with catastrophic consequences. A single misunderstanding could escalate into something no one can control. This rivalry affects technology, prices, and global security. From microchips to groceries, the impact is felt in every corner of the globe. The stakes are high for every person on the planet. No one is immune to the ripple effects of this great power struggle. Understanding this great power competition is essential. The future may be decided by its outcome. As the world stands at this crossroads, the choices made now will echo for generations to come. For much of the 20th century, the United States stood as the world's undisputed leader, shaping not only its own destiny but also the fate of nations across the globe. Its power was felt in every corner, its ideals echoed in distant lands, and its vision for the future set the tone for an entire era. America built the international systems that shaped global politics and economics, establishing institutions like the United Nations and the World Bank, and forging alliances that would define the post-war order. These frameworks promoted stability, prosperity, and a sense of shared purpose among its allies. Its influence was everywhere, from the glitz and glamour of Hollywood movies to the dominance of the US dollar in global markets. American brands, music, and culture became symbols of aspiration, spreading from bustling cities to remote villages worldwide. But while America led, China was quietly transforming behind the scenes, embarking on a journey that would change the course of history. Since the late 1970s, China's sweeping economic reforms lifted hundreds of millions out of poverty and turned the nation into the world's factory. Cities expanded at breathtaking speed, and a new middle class emerged, hungry for progress and opportunity. China's meteoric rise has challenged America's long-held position, ending the era of a single superpower and ushering in a new age of competition and uncertainty. We're entering a multipolar world, with China asserting global ambitions through massive infrastructure projects, new trade routes, and a growing presence on the world stage. It's building ports in Africa, laying undersea cables that connect continents, and sending astronauts into space, signaling its intent to lead in technology, trade, and exploration. This is a classic power dynamic, a rising power challenging an established one, echoing the rivalries of the past, but with new complexities and higher stakes. The US-China rivalry is a contest for influence, resources, and the rules of the global game. It's a battle fought not just in boardrooms and battlefields, but in cyberspace, supply chains, and the hearts and minds of people everywhere. It touches every aspect of our lives: economy, technology, climate, and more. From the smartphones in our hands to the air we breathe, the outcome of this rivalry will shape the world we live in. Other countries are forced to choose, align with U.S. democratic values and security guarantees, or embrace China's economic opportunities and rapid development model. For many, the choice isn't easy, and the consequences are profound. The decisions made now will shape the world for generations, influencing not just governments, but the hopes and dreams of children everywhere. This isn't just about two countries, it's about the future of our planet, the balance of power, and the kind of world we want to build together. The stakes couldn't be higher. The choices we make today will echo for decades, shaping peace, prosperity, and the fate of humanity itself. Why should you care about the US-China rivalry? Because it's already shaping your life. The tech war over microchips affects the devices you use every day. Trade wars and tariffs mean higher prices and economic uncertainty worldwide. When the two largest economies clash, everyone feels the shockwaves. Beyond economics, this is a battle of ideas. Democracy versus state-led authoritarianism. The outcome could shape the political future of many nations. Most critically, there's a real risk of military conflict, especially in hotspots like Taiwan and the South China Sea. A miscalculation could escalate into a confrontation between nuclear powers. The consequences would be devastating for the entire world. This rivalry will define our era with profound implications for peace, prosperity, and global values. It's not just a story for politicians, it's about your future. That's why it matters. To truly understand the roots of today's global tensions, we need to look back to the pivotal moment at the end of World War II. The world was left in ruins, but out of the devastation, a new international order began to take shape. The United States emerged as the dominant superpower, leading efforts to build institutions like the United Nations, the World Bank, and the International Monetary Fund. These organizations were designed to promote global stability, foster economic growth, and prevent future conflicts. The US hoped to create a world where democracy and free markets would flourish. Meanwhile, on the other side of the world, China was grappling with decades of internal turmoil and upheaval. It wasn't until the late 1970s, under the leadership of Deng Xiaoping, that China began a series of bold economic reforms, opening up to the world and setting the stage for rapid transformation. These sweeping reforms unleashed China's vast economic potential. Factories multiplied, cities expanded at breathtaking speed, and millions were lifted out of poverty. China was on its way to becoming a global economic powerhouse. A major milestone came in 2001 when China joined the World Trade Organization. This event marked a turning point, integrating China more deeply into the global economy and accelerating its rise. Western nations welcomed China's entry, hoping that economic integration would encourage political openness and reform within China. There was optimism that engagement would lead to a more liberal and cooperative China. Instead, China used its newfound economic strength to reinforce the power of the Communist Party and expand its influence both at home and abroad. The government maintained tight control, even as the economy boomed. The 2008 global financial crisis shook the West's confidence and damaged its credibility. In contrast, China's state-led model appeared resilient, weathering the storm and continuing to grow. As China's economy soared, Beijing grew more confident on the world stage, convinced that its system offered a viable alternative to Western democracy and capitalism. With this new confidence, China began to take a more assertive global role, expanding its military, investing in global infrastructure, and challenging U.S. influence in key regions. The stage was set for direct competition. The era of engagement gradually faded, giving way to a new era of rivalry and strategic competition between the world's two largest powers. Around the globe, leaders and citizens alike watched as two competing visions for the future began to collide, shaping the international landscape in profound ways. This is the backdrop to today's standoff, a world defined by uncertainty, competition, and the clash of two powerful nations. The US-China rivalry plays out across multiple fronts. Trade is the most visible: tariffs, accusations of unfair practices, and disrupted supply chains. Technology is critical. Both nations race to dominate AI, 5G, and quantum computing. The US restricts China's access to key tech. China pushes for self-sufficiency. Military tensions escalate in the Indo-Pacific, especially over Taiwan and the South China Sea. China's military modernization and territorial claims challenge US allies and interests. The battle for global influence is fierce. China's Belt and Road Initiative versus US-led alliances. Countries are pressured to choose sides, deepening global divisions. This isn't just about power, it's about shaping the rules of the future. The competition is global, relentless, and high stakes. The world is watching and feeling the impact. Despite their rivalry, the US and China's economies are deeply intertwined. Decoupling would be chaotic, raising prices and risking global recession. Developing countries caught in the middle could face severe consequences. The struggle extends to global governance. China seeks more influence in international institutions, challenging US-led norms. Competing rules could fragment the world, making it harder to tackle shared challenges like climate change and pandemics. At its core, this is an ideological divide: democracy and rule of law versus authoritarian control. The outcome will shape the political future of nations worldwide. The stakes are not just economic, they're about freedom, rights, and the global order. The world's future hangs in the balance. The US-China relationship could follow three paths. First, a new Cold War, global competition, divided blocs, and little cooperation. Second, direct armed conflict, an unthinkable catastrophe with global consequences. Third, managed, peaceful competition, rivalry with guardrails, fierce but stable. Each scenario leads to a vastly different world. Right now, distrust and decoupling point toward a new Cold War. Armed conflict remains a constant danger. Peaceful competition is the hardest, but most hopeful path. The choices made today will decide which future we inherit. The world is at a crossroads. What do these two powers want? The US aims to preserve the international order it built, promoting democracy and human rights. It wants China to play by existing rules, not rewrite them. China seeks the Great Rejuvenation, a respected place as a global power and a reformed world order. Beijing wants more influence for itself and developing nations, not just Western powers. The US sees China's actions as aggressive. China sees US moves as attempts to hold it back. Both want global respect, but their visions for the future clash. The world is caught between these competing dreams. The outcome will define the next century. We stand at a pivotal moment in history. The US-China rivalry will define the 21st century. The risks, miscalculation, conflict, division are immense. Yet, hope remains. Economic ties endure, and dialogue continues. Both nations share interests in avoiding war and tackling global threats. The challenge is to compete without catastrophe. The final chapter is unwritten: war, peace, or something in between. The decisions of leaders and citizens will shape the outcome. This story impacts us all. As you look to the horizon, what future do you see?